What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and Everton have just drew 1-1 with Forest. A game that, to be honest, either team could have won. First 15 minutes, Everton dominated the game. Really good football. Chances, shooting from outside the box. Anthony Gordon creating space. Demarai Gray creating space. Rondon, ball going into him, holding it up, getting people into position. He did really well, actually, in that sense. But you could just tell there's a lack of quality because we couldn't, when we were on top, we couldn't take advantage of it. There wasn't enough clear-cut chances at Dean Henderson. There wasn't enough opportunities to be clean strikes on goal from the 6-yard box. The balls into the bottom corners today were woeful, all sort of being caught by Dean Henderson, and I'm worried. I'm genuinely worried. Everton have picked up 1 point from 3 games. They've played newly promoted Forest, who looked okay today. They looked very decent. They've got 4 points from 3 games. And, you know, if Everton don't bring in a striker, I've said this before, if Everton don't bring in players that are going to be that little bit better, that little bit more clinical, that little bit stronger, we are going to struggle. Like, we won't stay in the league. We've picked up 1 point in 3 games, 2 home games, Forest and Chelsea. You'd expect at least 3 points from Everton in that sense, and they haven't got that. They haven't got that. They've struggled in that sense, and yeah, worried. 20 minutes in the middle between the first half and the end of the half, you know, from about 22 minutes onwards, Nottingham Forest did really well. They come into the game, they were taking their chances. Tarkowski looked shaky, giving the ball to, I think it's Spence, 2 or 3 times, getting caught. Passy is poor. He didn't look great today. Everything in the air he wins, that was fine, but his distribution today and his decision making at times was questionable, and it caused him problems. You know, Pickford had to make 2 good saves off the back of his mistakes, and again, you know, we saw that last season. That is fundamentally what sent us down. The biggest encouraging thing today was I didn't feel like we were going to concede goals, and then we did. I feel like Pickford again. He gets under the ball, he pushes it out to the right hand side, but it doesn't go out wide. It goes straight back into the box on the right. It's not like he flicks it with his fingers. He gets too much of a palm on it, and it ends up going to that lad who finishes it off really nice, and that makes it 1-0. And you know, the game played from both teams. Nico Williams coming up on their right hand side, causing problems, getting shots off. Mikalenko, I thought, did really well today, but yeah, it was a struggle. The substitution and why I probably realise why Onana isn't ready, because Onana really worried me when he got on the pitch. He was booked after about 3 minutes. His decision making wasn't quick enough, his distribution wasn't good enough, he wasn't fast enough, he just clearly isn't up to the Premier League level. Whereas I can't say that with Tom Davies. I actually thought Tom had a decent game. There was a couple of moments where he passes it into thin air and he probably should score, but you know, for the whole basis that Tom Davies isn't this fantastic midfielder that we already know, he actually had a decent game, and I wasn't worried. Alex Iwobi again, really strong, 94, 95 minutes. He just keeps going and going and going and going. And he did, you know, he wins the ball back and he battles and he can beat a person. And there was 1 point in the second half where he's got 3 people around him and he managed to do like a little pirouette and get the ball out to Gordon, who just completely wastes the opportunity. And this is the problem you've got when you play 3 attacking wingers. You know, you play Gordon, you play Gray, and McNeil comes on. They're all wingers. They're all traditional wingers in the sense of they'll beat people and shoot. They're not clinical strikers in that sense. And Demarai Gray, to be fair to him, 86th, 7th minute, it's a beautiful ball from Pickford. It's straight over the top. Pickford, he cuts out the entire Forest team, which was probably the right thing to do at that point. Demarai Gray makes a fantastic diagonal run. Beautiful touch, past Dean Henderson, and it's a goal. And that makes it 1-1. And again, you sort of feel like the last 4 or 5 minutes, Everton are going to be the only team to win. And then there's a massive chance at the end. There's a massive chance. Gordon gets played through. There's been a mistake by the Forest, Worrell I think his name is. There's been a mistake. He's not got it anywhere near the goalkeeper. Gordon's got it. Henderson's had to come out and make himself big, and Gordon's waited, he's paused. And that's me thinking he's going to slot it under the keeper, or he's going to go left of the keeper. He tries to go above him when he's jumped, and you just sit there and you think, you know what, if you are a top striker, you don't do that. We huffed and puffed today. We really did. Rondon I thought was good. I thought, you know, on the turn he was getting a few shots off. He did cause a few problems. You know, he was okay. But he was substituted after 57 minutes, and the problem is you're not bringing on a striker, you're bringing on Dwight McNeil, who I'm still, literally, I am still miles away from thinking positive things about McNeil, because he hasn't done it. He hasn't done it so far. I'm obviously going to give him more than 3 competitive games, of course I am, because he did it against Kiev as well, but I'm not seeing much that's going, yes, fantastic. Corners, again, as I mentioned earlier, they just weren't good enough. They weren't finding the head of Connor Cody and Tarkowski, who we know can score. Mason Holgate, usually a threat. Mason Holgate, again, fantastic. I thought he didn't put a foot wrong today. Connor Cody, leadership. The only thing I would criticise Cody for is on their goal, he looks like he's the furthest person back that could have made that run to the line, and he doesn't. But it's me. You know, Patterson's actually the one that's at fault, really, because he should be by that player, by Spence, and he isn't, and he isn't. And in the end, Forest make it 1-0. So yeah, look, I'm concerned. I'm worried. I think Everton have got a lot of work to do in this transfer window. And I made a point last night and yesterday. You know, I said, Mashiri made this comment, judge me at the end of the window. Well, mate, we've picked up 1 point in 3 games. We're sitting firmly in the bottom 3. I can't judge you now, mate. I can't judge you then. I've got to judge you now. I've got to judge you on the fact that Everton didn't have a goal scorer or even a striker to replace Rondon today, because Ellie Sims has gone out on loan. Dobbin has gone out on loan. They're not playing Tom Cannon, who's been ripping up the under-23. So, even if it is just a vocal point striker, bring them on. But instead, you've shipped all of the young lads out and not brought in a striker. And that could be Kevin Furwell, it could be Frank Lampard, it could be Mashiri, the board, whoever it is. It is ridiculous, and it was proven today, because Forest were good today. They were decent. They going forward, Morgan Gibbs-White really adds value to them. You could see it. You know, they've got clear creativity. I didn't think Jesse Lingard did too much, to be honest, but you know, they scored when they needed to score. They got themselves a point at Goodison Park, and I'm sure most Forest fans will be happy with that, because I think realistically they know that if they can stay in the Premier League this season, that's an achievement for them. You know, they can't be having aspirations of finishing 10th or 8th or in Europe, or because they're not going to do that. But defensively today, if Everton were better, they lose 3 or 4-1. They do. They just weren't defensively. They weren't good enough. That Worrell at the back for them, I would say, is a big concern at Premier League level. He doesn't look good enough. So they've got big things that they need to address defensively, and they're still committed to spend. They're still committed to this project. You know, the owners sitting there, they looked fine. Like, from a Premier League level, they look like they're fine, and you trust them to invest defensively. Facts are, Everton lost Richarlison 7 weeks ago, and we are still toothless. We are still toothless. If it wasn't for Damari Gray with that little bit of class, which I've got to be honest, today, every time he picked up the ball, he ran at Forest. He was aggressive with Forest, and I was happy with that. I was really happy with that. Sometimes he dilly-daddies on the ball. Sometimes he should pass instead of carrying it. Sometimes he stops. But actually, when we needed someone to stand up today, he did it, and he produced that goal, that bit of magic, and it's a different outcome. I'm not going to sit here and sound positive about a 1-1 draw with Nottingham Forest at home. I'm really not, but it easily could have been another defeat today. It easily could have been 3 defeats in a row, and it's not going to be that. What Everton need to do now is work out ways where they pick up wins at home. Everton are going to need 38 points this season. That's what they're going to need, 38 points. All of the promoted sides look decent. Fulham, I think they were winning today, or they won. Forest have got 4 points in 3 games. Bournemouth have already beat Villa first game of the season. So, yeah, Everton have got to invest. And if that means Anthony Gordon leaves, so be it, because I'm not going to sit here and defend that. The facts are, when Rondon went off today, we didn't have another striker, and then the game plan went to pot. It went to pot because he did all right, Rondon, he did fine. He's not going to score you 5 goals a season, he's really not. He's your third choice striker at the end of the day, but the facts are, we need goals. We need someone who's going to make that run into the box. And so many times today, the ball into the box wasn't good enough from the wingers. The creativity was lacking. And we've been linked with Kudus from Ajax. That will add something really special in the middle of the park. You know, he's a clever number 10. Really, really good. But then I don't even know where McNeil plays, because if you're telling me McNeil's a replacement for Gordon, I don't know how happy I am with that, because I don't think he's got as much end product as Gordon even now. So yeah, it's a big 10 days left of the window, and it's a big 10 days because you're right off today. Massive 10 days. Everton have just got to get a striker, get a number 10, and I'm really worried about Onana. Just his adapting. It will take time. He's a young lad. I'm not sitting here going, oh, I'm really worried about him becoming a fantastic player, because I think he's got it in the locker. But I understand why Tom Davies is still starting games for Everton Football Club, because out of the options we've got, he adds the most energy. He's actually a clever thinker on the ball. I'm not sitting here raving about it. I'm sitting here saying he does the job. He does a job, whereas I don't feel like the others do. Today, Tom should have scored. He's literally in the box. Ball comes over and he fluffs it. And we've seen it time and time again. Pitch opens up for him. He hasn't got that drive to get that shot off. And that could be a mental thing, because he's had loads of people have a go at him. I've had a go at him. Other fans have had goes at him. Other podcasts, other creators, other people in the stadium. But he hasn't got that. He hasn't got that pull a foot out and shoot. And when he does, he tends to drag it wide. He did have that shot today and he dragged it wide. But I was happy with Tom's performance. I was pretty much happy with everyone's performance. We just clearly lack a goal scorer. Somebody who can come off the bench and make a difference. I think Palace today, they brought on Mateta. He gets a goal. I'm not sitting there saying he's fantastic, but I'm saying if you give him a few opportunities, he probably gets you 5, 6, 7 goals a season. Everton don't have that on that bench. Everton don't have that. We chose to keep Dele Alli on the bench because we want him to go to Besiktas. Is Dele Alli going to change the game for you? Probably not. So, yeah, look, I'm worried. But I'm going to make judgment and my predictions at the end of the transfer window, because that's what Moshiri said to us. Judge me at the end of the window. And I'm ready to judge. Like, I will be ready to judge, because today Everton should be beating Forest at home. They should. And we didn't. And that is that. Man of the match, I'll go with Damari Gray. Yeah, peace.